Well, folks, it looks as though Ron DeSantis is starting to walk it back a bit on the Florida book bans. He says that some folks may have acted in bad faith. And this is what's being reported. Check this out. It says, Governor Ron DeSantis on Thursday supported a House proposal that he said is designed to limit bad faith objections to school library books and instructional materials, and called claims that Florida bans books a false narrative. During a news conference Thursday in Orlando, DeSantis said Florida doesn't ban books, but has allowed parents and others to object to certain materials. But DeSantis said that some have abused the process to score cheap political points. Well, it's funny to me that he's just now starting to call that out. Now that he's no longer in the race for the White House, now he's starting to call it out. When he was running for the White House, he pushed it to the moon. He got out here and he rode this whole anti-woke agenda. He said he was going to make America Florida. He was going to put the whole, he said Florida is where woke goes to die, and that's what he wanted to take all the way to the White House. And he thought he could go out there and he thought he could cash in on the Donald Trump grift. He thought he could appeal to that crowd. He failed miserably. First of all, because he's an extremely awkward candidate that really can't communicate. And second of all, Donald Trump supporters do not want an alternative to Donald Trump. They do not want Trump light. They do not want a smarter version of him. They're not about the Republican Party. They're not about anything. They're not about America. They're about their loyalty to Donald Trump. That's it. So DeSantis goes out there and he tries so hard to cash in on all the culture wars that's being fought, all the wars against Disney, Target, Bud Light, the gay and trans community. He rode that horse as far as he could, and he never called anyone out for abuse of anything. But now that it's back to just being the governor and he's not going to be in the White House, he realizes, oh shit, that shtick I was doing ain't necessarily as popular as I was led to believe that it was. Because at the end of the day, when people goes out to vote, they're going to vote based on how they struggle in this country and who they feel can best help them out of the situation they're in. You got a guy over here screaming about culture wars, screaming about Disney and Target and all these things. That doesn't affect the average working dude. It doesn't affect him in the least. And moderate and independent voters sure as hell ain't going to get behind that kind of thing. They're going to be looking at results. And now that DeSantis realizes this is an unpopular opinion, now he's starting to dial it back and say, well, some might have acted in bad faith. Now he's rethinking the whole thing. He's not willing to admit for 1 second, though, that he was wrong. And anytime I've ever talked about Florida banning books, I never get people chiming into the comment section who supports him and supports that idea. I never hear them chime in to say, oh, no, that's not true. They never chime in to say that it's wrong. What they chime in to tell me is, no, man, kids don't need to be reading stuff like that, man. They got to do that kind of stuff. They got to keep them kind of books out of kids' hands. Kids can't be learning about that stuff at that age. That's what they were saying this entire time. And now that they realize that at the end of the day, censorship is not a popular idea, because it kind of goes against everything they sit and say. They try to sit and tell us that woke is silencing everybody, that woke is coming after free speech. And meanwhile, what do you call banning a book? I mean, that's as 1930s Germany as it could possibly get. And when those of us called it out as such, they didn't say that we had it wrong. They just said, no, that's how it should be. And now they're trying to walk it back because they realize once Trump's out of the picture, once he's out of the political arena, they're going to have to pick up the pieces that crumbled around them. And they're going to have to explain themselves. And they're going to have a long time digging themselves out of this hole. They have buried themselves at the end of the day, and they don't even realize it yet. Because right now, the people are still latching on to Donald Trump because he's the cult of personality, and they will never let him go. They have to hang on to him. Long after Donald Trump is gone, he's going to be like Elvis. They will say that they spotted him at a Burger King. They'll say that the Clintons had something to do with him not being here. They'll make up every excuse in the world. Donald Trump is eternal to those people. They will be just like the Waco survivors and just like Jonestown survivors that still believes Jones and Koresh is coming back for them. That's what they're going to believe. So those folks are never going to go away. But the politicians left to defend this bullshit are going to have a lot of explaining to do when we point out what they supported and what they did and didn't call out. The lives that Ron DeSantis has trampled on in the name of protecting the children is out of this world. And people are catching on to it more and more. And they're seeing it for what it is. Because without the Donald Trump cloak on him, he's what he is. And people sees through it. And now he's trying to walk it back. But I say we should never let him off the hook for it. My thought process is, dude, why didn't you say something to start with? Or actually, why did you even start this whole thing? Because you thought it would work. You thought it was a good idea. And now you're saying some people might have acted in bad faith. That's what I've been saying this entire time. When you enact policies like that, and it gets into the hands of someone worse than you, they're going to take it a step farther. When people sees you get away with something, they're going to look at that and go, hey, look, he got away with it. I can do more. And that's what was happening. And Ron DeSantis sees it now, and he's trying to dial it back. But I don't think he should ever be let off the hook. I think we should always hold his feet to the fire and remind him that he's the one that came up with this bullshit to start with.